Chapter 1, 2000 through 2001 pre-release, January 29, 2000. This section includes information on the development of Final Fantasy XI, beginning 2 years and 4 months before the first adventurers set foot into Vana'diel. Beta testing began in the winter of 2001. Square displayed the plan for PlayOnline for the first time at a private event called Square Millennium in Yokohama, showing off Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X, and Final Fantasy XI together. They revealed that Final Fantasy XI would be the series' first ever online experience. The next day, Square stock shot up in value from an average of 7,000 yen per unit the month prior to 19,800 yen per unit. This event was not a press-only presentation. Around 5,000 ordinary people were able to attend by pre-registering through magazine ads. The focus, however, was on Final Fantasy IX. PlayOnline was originally developed to interact with Final Fantasy X, but when those plans fell through, it became a strategy guide for Final Fantasy IX. The site was designed to complement Brady Games and Piggyback Interactive's official strategy guides for the game, where players who bought the print guide had access to keywords that could be searched on PlayOnline's site for extra tips and information. This caused fury among buyers of the guide, as they felt cheated for the expensive print guide. The blunder made GameSpy's top 5 dumbest moments in gaming list, and Square dropped the idea for Final Fantasy X, which was under development at the time. PlayOnline itself had a lot of potential, but never grew into its intended use. March 4th, 2000. The first iteration of the PlayStation 2 system was released in Japan. July 19th, 2001. Final Fantasy X went on sale. Included with the game was a bonus disc that gave a look into the progress made on Final Fantasy XI, which was still in mid-development. Other side of Final Fantasy, the graphics at this time were relatively primitive. The video has since been added to YouTube. Here are notes of interest. A dragon, Fafnir/Nidhogg, was shown landing from a flight. A town which does not appear in the final version of the game is in the video. Mithra and Tarutaru did not appear. A scene was shown involving a Gabu scooping up and devouring a Mandragora. Much of the rest of the video is a montage of how awesome PlayOnline was going to be to communicate with friends and family. September 17th, 2001. General public beta testing begins for PlayOnline on the PlayStation 2 with ads displayed in magazines and other media. An ISDN adapter for the PlayStation 2 was sold for those participating in the beta. And keep in mind that this was Beta 1, which was only the PlayOnline platform and no games. The rather thick manual was in a binder with an aluminum cover and weighed about 2 kilograms. It came with warnings not to drop it or to accidentally cut yourself on its sharp edges. November 20th, 2001. Recruitment for the Final Fantasy XI beta began appearing in magazines and other media. At the time, the PS2 broadband unit, HDD, was not being sold in stores and could only be acquired by signing up with an ISP. Despite this, there was an absolute deluge of participants. When Final Fantasy XI was finished, sales of the BB unit opened up to accommodate new players, but it was still out of stock almost everywhere. The biggest hurdle for new users to overcome was simply finding the BB unit to purchase. This website was developed as an early wiki of sorts that listed sources on where to obtain an HDD unit at the time. December 17th, 2001. The Final Fantasy XI beta test began with lucky players selected by lottery receiving the PlayOnline Beta 2 edition, which included a Beta PlayOnline viewer, Final Fantasy XI Beta, Tetra Master Beta, and a service manual binder. Like the PlayOnline Beta 1 edition, this binder was again very heavy at 4.4 pounds. 4 worlds were made: Chaos, Xandi, Golbez, and Exdeath. Later, Exdeath and Golbez were combined into Xandi. Worlds could not be chosen, and players were divided based on when they signed up. New players continued to be selected as the beta went on, adding new adventures to Vana'diel from December up until March of the following year. The following is a quote from Akihiko Matsui, regarding the memory of the beta test. This quote was publicized on the We Are Vanadiel official commemorative website in 2021. As the battle director at the time, I felt that it was too early for the beta test since the skill change system had just been decided for implementation and weapon skills hadn't been fully implemented yet. The start of the beta test also meant bug fixes for the beta server, which was more workload for the main development team. However, the whole team was able to unify their vision of the final product, and the beta test also served as motivation for us to work more quickly, so I think it was a good thing overall. Since then, more people came to me for battle balancing related matters, and I had to switch to working the night shift for a while to make progress on my own tasks, so it was a valuable experience for me. December 22, 2001. A private Square event, the Online Party 2002, was held at the Tokyo International Forum. 5,000 people were invited on an invitation-only basis. Final Fantasy XI on Windows was shown for the first time. Only stakeholders in the industry and a select few users drawn by a lottery were invited to attend. 100 machines were set up to allow attendees to play for 15-minute sessions at a time. At the venue, the beta kit and modem were sold as a set. The set seemed to sell like crazy due to the great response to the 15-minute play session. About 1/3 of the attendees won the beta kit and the lottery giveaway. On stage, Masakusa Morita and Mayuko Aoki performed a mini concert as Tidus and Yuna, respectively. After the song, sound creator Nobuo Uematsu appeared on the stage. They talked about the songs they sang, the songs from Final Fantasy XI, and the albums they plan to release in the future. Logitech, known as Logicool in Japan due to an already existing company called Logitech there, was a sponsor of this event. Its peripherals such as recommended modems and keyboards were displayed. Pictured is a ridiculously large controller that was on display equipped with a keyboard in the middle for typing in-game. All attendees received these Final Fantasy XI themed neck straps. The World of Final Fantasy XI Beta Test. The beta version of Final Fantasy XI was practically the same as the initial retail version, but there were still many things missing. Below are the important differences. Character selection and jobs. Characters could choose from every race, but the selection of faces was much fewer than the final product. The 6 basic jobs were available: Warrior, Monk, White Mage, Black Mage, Red Mage, and Thief. Players could obtain sub-jobs, but the quest was different than now. Players had to obtain an old prophecy from monsters around Juno and hand it in to the master. Level cap. The level cap was initially set at 30, but they eventually raised it up to 35 after player demand. Monster levels were not adjusted to compensate, so players leveled on easy prey and decent challenge up to 35. No undergarments. In the beta version, there were not undergarments, the clothes you see when you have nothing equipped. The leather armor graphics were used for when a player had nothing on. Entrance to Juno closed. There was an entrance to Juno in each of the 3 surrounding areas, but it was blocked from entry by a metal gate. Small home nations. Sandioria only consisted of the port, Bastok only the mines and port district, and Windurst had but the wall areas. Besides Bastok, there was little place to roam in one's home nation. Home points were found in each nation, with additional home point placed at each crag. Notorious monsters and birth of competition. On January 16, 2002, the beta received a version update which introduced Notorious monsters to Vanadiel. In Pashao and Merifatab, there were giant Ran and M's. Battalia had Morble and M. Skewer Sam was in Saramor campaign. Since they were only there for the duration of the beta, link shells would discuss between each other and plan days for each group to take on the monsters in an orderly fashion. The birth of the link shell was the same time as these notorious monsters, and some rivalries were formed. These monsters were on a 24-hour spawn timer. Unruly link shells would scramble to be the first to claim it, completely ignoring other groups' order that was planned beforehand. Beastmen. There was only the Orc Beastman model. Yagudo and Quadov only differed in name, but all used the Orc model. Slightly different maps. Maps existed for the areas around the three nations, but they lacked coordinates and were difficult to understand. Also, there were no maps for areas outside of Juneau. Areas like Valcrum Dunes didn't even exist yet. Good manners in Rangumat Pass. After the version update on January 16, 2002, Rangumat Pass now had NMs that dropped rare items like Hermes shoes and prison capes. Many people hunted them. However, if an error was made during the pool, there would be a disastrous train, so players would shout to warn each other before pooling. The three Ahrimans from Nation Mission 2-3, Dragon BC, used to be at the gate room in Rangumat, and they were considered as the hardest obstacle for players. Magic and ability names. Redark changed to Blinda. Vocal changed to Silenza. G-Cure changed to Curaga. Stop changed to Bind. Although the name changed, the spell sound and visual effect were the same as they are today. At the beginning of the beta, the range of player character auto attacks were slightly further than the enemy. A popular strategy was to bind a monster, then stand out of its range and deal as much damage as you wanted with no threat of a counterattack until bind wore off. During the beta, monster and players' attacks were changed to be the same, but it was soon found that bound monsters did not turn around in place. This allowed players to bind and then stand behind it to avoid attacks. This was also corrected during the beta, but the fact that bind always lasted for 60 seconds and that damage did not break the effect carried over to retail release. The spell was quickly changed in June 2002 update shortly after release. Area of Effect cures affected the entire alliance. There were many other differences that were changed before the final version. Official events. During the beta test, there were 2 official events held. The game staff would interact with players in real time, role-playing and giving hints for players to complete certain actions. The first event was held on March 1st, 2002. The event was called Connor's Communique. This beta test event involved following hints provided in a leak shell conversation to form a specific party composition and reach a designated location where a GM would be waiting. Reward: Light Staff. Damage 15, delay 276. HP plus 100, MP plus 30. Hidden effect: movement speed plus 25%. The second event was held on March 29, 2002 and was called Demons in the Rye. Players were tasked with defeating a special monster hiding among the other monsters around the world. Since the special monster was visually identical to all the others, the only way to tell them apart was to fight them and find out if they were abnormally powerful. Reward: Gator. A hand-to-hand weapon. It was the only hand-to-hand weapon in the game. Instead of the plus damage we have today on hand-to-hand weapons, it was a straight D10 stat. It was weaker than bare hands when equipped. Load tests. On January 23, 2002, a test was performed to see if the servers could withstand simultaneous logins. Tests such as this were done several times through the beta with the cooperation of players and GMs. It seemed that most of these tests turned into shout festivals. Sage Sunday appeared at this test, and he had a Ragnarok equipped. This version of the Ragnarok does not exist in the retail version of the game. The shape and performance changed. Liking and subscribing helps me to continue down the road of never having to interact with people again. If you've liked my narration of this video, send me a message on Fiverr and let me bring your words to life with a free sample. Until next time.